if you are having trouble with something or you're emotionally distraught, if you physically grab ice, like the actual like ice, physical ice, it cools you down and it brings your attention to something else.
It's kind of like a mini cold shower.
Yeah.
In your hand.
I guess that's a good way to say it. It's like it's a cold shower.
Yeah.
In your hand.
Cold shower podcast.
Dude, that's a fucking really good name, actually. Because everyone understands what that is.
That's true.
That's true.
That doesn't need explaining.
That doesn't need zero explanation. Welcome
Also,
to the cold shower podcast.
This is kind of like listening to a cold shower.
You're at first you're hard and then you're not after
Nobody's
listening.
coming here to be hard. Nobody's coming here to get hard.
No one's coming. Yeah. That's our intro. Welcome to the Cold Shower podcast, where a place where you can go, a place you go when you know you don't want to be hard.
A place you can come.
A place you can come where you know you're not going to be hard. That's the mantra of our company, dude. Yeah, dude. We're gonna be the pimps of the podcast space.
Holy shit.
That's us pimping.
Does the word simp come from pimp? Like it's the opposite?
Pimp is like you're the man.
You own the hookers.
You own the hookers. And then simp is like the hookers own you. You know what?
Yeah, that's actually pretty much it.
God, simps giving men a bad name.
A bad name.
Bad name. Okay. I'm going to read some things off of a cough drop. Are you ready?
Yep.
You got it in you.
Yeah, I do. I got the dog in me.
I think that was supposed to be motivational, but
Oh, I'm about to make an episode.
you can do it and you know it.
I know it. I know.
Keep your chin up. Dude, this is all so sexual. Get back in there, champ. Inspire envy.
Wait, you're just going to gloss over get back in there, champ, after you say everything's sexual?
Put a little strut in it. Power through.
And when you slip out for a sec, you have a 1-to-1 with your man, and you're like, yo, you good? Slap him around a little bit. All right, get back in there, champ.
Power through is right in the middle.
Oh, it's Halls, though. That's for sick people.
Yeah. I'm okay right now. I just want to eat it.
Mm-hmm.
I was sick a day or two ago, but now I'm chilling.
Do you think if you put a turtle on a bullet train, it could perceive what's happening as fast as we can, even though it can't move its body that fast? So, in other words, is the frame rate of its brain as slow as it moves its limbs, so it just doesn't know what the fuck's going on from moment to moment? Or if it's sitting on top of the bullet train, it can actually see and perceive like the 90 miles an hour that's happening, or however fast, and it like would have this euphoria or like deep fear, or just straight confusion.
So basically the question we're asking is, does it have the mental capacity to understand what it's doing on a train that's going extremely fast?
Yeah, can it perceive the speed that it's going?
I think brains registration for information and the rate at which your body can move are going to be different. So I don't think it would know that it's going 60 miles an hour or 90 miles an hour.
No, but it can see everything.
Yeah. I think it would see and perceive everything, but it would be like, what the fuck is happening? I don't think it would understand it.
Okay.
I don't think it would understand it, but I think it would register what's happening, like
all the
register
motion.
all the information.
Yeah.
But I don't think it would be able to comprehend what the fuck was actually, because it's never experienced anything like that before.
Yeah. I mean,
and I think that goes for humans though too. Like if you did something that you've never done before or never even saw or perceived before, I think it would be kind of hard for you to just be like, I know exactly what's happening.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, no, there's a difference because like, let's say you get on, let's say you fucking pull Benjamin Franklin out into 2024 and put him on the Autobahn. He can perceive everything, but he's going to be like, what the fuck? But he can understand what's happening too. He's standing on an object that's going extremely fast. There's a difference between that and doing DMT for the first time and not knowing it because it was in a muffin.
What the fuck is happening? Yeah.
So if it's a turtle, like turtles aren't as smart as Benjamin Franklin, unless they are. How do you really measure that? Maybe Benjamin Franklin was really stupid. Do you think people have gotten smarter in the last 300 years?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. The amount of knowledge that we have is more than it's ever been.
But knowledge is not intelligence. And these bitches wrote
I think it is a little bit.
They wrote a new country, and it's still here. That's pretty insane.
Facts. That's true. Yeah. I think information is a part of intelligence, though.
I think they're different things.
Okay, so are you thinking that intelligence is intuition of stuff?
No, I think intelligence encompasses. I guess. Do we want to say it includes clock speed of the brain? Maybe, but it's the ability to use the knowledge that you have. Like, okay, so if you have two people, you give them the same exact book that teaches them the same knowledge. Do you think they're going to have the exact same capability to use that knowledge?
No.
So that's the difference.
Comprehension. What we're talking about is comprehension then.
It's not just comprehension. It's also the way you use it. Application.
Comprehension and application is knowledge then? Or is intelligence?
I think intelligence has to do with those things.
So, but wouldn't that mean that any point in time a human's intelligence has never been different?
No, that doesn't mean that at all. That's the opposite. Like, some people are more inclined to think faster or use information in more creative ways. Some people are cut out to solve a Rubik's Cube, and some people are not.
So do you think that people that were cavemen were more intelligent than we are now?
I think some of them probably had the chance to be. If it was still, like, if we're talking about Homo sapiens, then yeah. But they didn't have the like, we already know what the fuck letters are by the time we have any autonomous control of, like, what our decisions are day to day. So they didn't have any of that stuff they were born into, societal structure.
But that's knowledge, though.
Right. So they're using the knowledge. It doesn't mean they weren't intelligent. Maybe the fact that we're here is because they were intelligent enough to rub sticks together.
It totally is. That's technology.
And technology doesn't happen without intelligence, but technology does pave the way for more knowledge.
I don't necessarily agree with that for everything, because sometimes things happen by accident.
That's true.
And then you're like, oh shit, I can use that. That's intelligence.
Do you know the story of the sticky notes?
What?
Do you know the story of sticky notes with that? They were...
No, but I know the story of cookies.
Okay, I'll go first and then you go with the cookies. Sticky notes I think it was 3M. It was one of the big adhesive companies was trying to make an adhesive for something else, and they accidentally came up with this thing they were like going for Gorilla Glue or something, and they came up with this thing that you could easily, like, stick it to something and then pull it up and stick it back and pull it up and stick it back, like, an infinite amount of times. And they were like, we could probably use that for something. And then here we have sticky notes, and probably made them an ass ton of money. Okay, now you go.
So cookies, that's really interesting. Cookies were, I think the original formula was cake or something like that, or bread. And someone, like, fucked up the recipe for, it was like bread or cake. Yeah. And then it became a cookie.
And they were like,
that's how cookies were made.
Yeah. There's a lot. I have a quote written down about that somewhere, about, like, if you kind of that thing I was talking about, if you narrow your focus too much, you can be blind to all the stuff that you could be, like, that's good around you, that's coming out of your experience.
That's why experts are some of the dumbest people ever. Because no, listen, because they're so like if you haven't had general knowledge, like wide knowledge, and you only have depth knowledge. Actually, I'm learning this in my leadership course. When you're a leader, you want to
You're
have
wide.
broad knowledge. Yeah, you want to be wider than you are deep. But when you're a specialist, when you're working under people or when you're working for people, you want to go super deep because you're good at something specific.
I love all these words that you're saying.
I'm a generalist, bro. I'm a jack of all trades, bro. So that's why I'm a fucking professional leader, dude. I was born to be a leader. That's who I am.
Yeah. You're real wide, dude. Super wide, super deep.
Dude, girthy.
Mm-hmm. Do you enjoy
I
it?
flick it sometimes.
Yeah, you
for
just,
the girth.
just gotta flick it. You having a bad day? Just flick it.
Dude, that solves a lot of life's issues. If people just jerked off more, life would be better for everyone.
But then why don't they? Because it's so easy.
Do you think gays seem pretty happy, honestly? Gay guys, they're always fucking.
It's in the name, dude.
Yeah. Gays are always fucking, and they seem pretty happy most of the time.
It's probably because they go to the YMCA so much.
The YMCA? Wait, what?
Well, I mean, if we all fucked and jerked off and went to the YMCA daily, imagine how we would live in a utopia.
They do a ton of coke, though, too.
Okay. Well, I guess that probably helps in the short term.
I've been offered coke in a club or bar bathroom more times than I can count.
Wow. I never have been.
I don't know. Maybe there's something about me where people are just like, this guy does coke.
Yeah. I want to give this guy some coke. This guy will do a line with me.
Maybe that was them hitting on me, like, oh, I'll give you something to suck my dick or something. I don't know.
No, I think a
And
lot
they're
of it's
like,
just
oh, he's
they wanna do
straight.
coke. Yeah. I mean, it probably feels a little not as great if you're doing it alone.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, doing coke alone sounds kind of weird. just me sitting in a corner, like, oh yeah, dude.
So I'm going to hit you with two thoughts. And
Two thoughts. All right, go.
Two thoughts, and I want to see how, if at all, you think that they're connected. One is I have a note.
Okay.
I have a note that says attraction does not come from perfection. I'll give you a sec for that.
Okay.
And then
attraction does not come from perfection.
right, doesn't come from being perfect. Being essentially, I'm saying, in other words, if you are attractive, it's not because you are perfect, and trying to be perfect will not make you attractive. In general, broad sweep terms.
Okay. What's the other thing?
The other thing is this music marketing coach guy that I follow has been talking about how people, I might have told you this on the phone, but people who there's something contradictory about them tend to succeed in, get more growth faster because it sparks conversation about them. People talk about them if they're contradictory in some way.
I think that kind of goes hand in hand with controversial. Yeah, if the more confusing something is, or the more things don't align, the more people are interested because it's unique.
Is it because it's unique, or is it the same mechanism as why the news makes its business off of bad news? It's like striking chords in your emotions somehow, even if it's an ugly car wreck. Is that like the same kind of thing? Because people are like, what the fuck? It can't be like that. It's something uncomfortable.
I think when it's something out of the ordinary, it just seems much more prominent because your brain tends to isolate things that are different for safety, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's like a natural human mechanism is like, oh, that's different. Why? They're probably fucking weird or crazy or something because that's not how normal people act. And so something about them is triggering because you're worried for your safety. And I think that's why danger is a big seller because it triggers emotional, like that's probably why bad news is so big. Is
Sure.
Because it triggers like a fight and flight response where it's like, oh my God, like that's crazy.
Yeah, I agree with that about the news. But I can think of things that are unique that don't stand out.
Like what?
Like, let's talk about visual standing out. as an example, you could put a random like lemon lime color scheme in a house, and that doesn't mean that it's like, what if they're just slightly pastel or off colors? Like, that's really unique, and it doesn't necessarily grab someone.
Oh, for sure it does. Because think about it like this. You walk into a white house, you don't even think about the paint, right? You walk into a lemon lime house, you're like, that's fucking ugly.
Okay.
So the first example is like, it's white. You don't even notice that it's there. It doesn't even come up in your perception. So the reason why those people are growing quicker and growing bigger is because people see something different about them and they recognize it. And that's what triggers their attention, because memory, like how you're supposed to trigger memory, is from associating it with unique properties or different things. That's a thing that has been studied, where if you associate memories with specific emotions, feelings, or things, you tend to remember them better. And if someone walked into a house with fucking lemon lime ugly ass fucking house colors, then you're gonna be like, this douchebag. Right, you're gonna be like, this douchebag has the fucking ugly ass paint colors. So that's two things that you remember.
Okay, I can get behind that. So I guess
they're more memorable. Not necessarily you like them more,
right?
But they're more memorable.
That's where I was going. Is there can be good unique and bad unique, but definitely. I guess it does come down to uniqueness.
More memorable either way, though.
Right.
So, but you want to be unique in the good way so people remember you and like you, because that is better.
Yep.
So your original question is, how is...
Do you think they're related?
Attraction. So, yeah, attraction and imperfection.
Yeah, you want to explore that one first?
Yeah, let's do it. So how is the lack of attraction... Wait... How is imperfection?
I find beauty in imperfection, to say it in a really short way.
Explain.
I am attracted to people with strong character, and obviously not all people. That's another, there's good unique and bad unique. There's a lot of strong character that repel me, but there's a middle area where what if you're just so bland and you're doing everything right. I know you didn't watch SpongeBob growing up, but there's an episode where he becomes normal because he doesn't want to be treated different anymore. And he's just like this smooth, like, hi, I'm normal. And that's the whole thing. It's like you do everything right and fine, and there's nothing exciting about it. And I think that it's not that you have to do wrong things to be attractive. It's that if you just it's that attraction comes from this pointed, like, something with orientation and character rather than something that is just perfect.
I agree. I think everyone is attracted to different things, and I think uniqueness is important, because if you are cookie cutter, it's really easy to like you, but I don't think it's as easy to love you.
Yeah.
Because the uniqueness in a person is what makes them who they are. And if you're just like every other person they've ever met, they're just like, oh yeah, they're cool. And I think that's like what happens a lot, is a lot of people try to fit in and be a specific type of person that they think everyone will like.
It's so ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, they end up being a person that is uninteresting and end up losing the love of their life because of it, right? Like you hear people talk about this, like, I just got bored, or like, I just don't find them interesting, or, you know, they were like the perfect person, but they were just not it for me.
There it is.
I didn't have the spark, right?
They were the perfect person, and that wasn't working.
It wasn't working. Yeah. And I think you have to be interesting or unique in some way. And I think everyone is original and unique in their own way most of the time. And I think it's just embracing that part of you. And like, it's important to be not liked and liked by different people, because if you're liked by everyone, then there's nothing interesting about you.
That's more of an indicator, though. I don't think the action has to do with like, I'm going to make certain people like me and certain people dislike me. I don't think you get good results from trying to make people dislike you.
True.
It's more of like, if nobody dislikes something about you, then you're probably not showing that much of yourself.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people are really guarded in that way. And Oh my God. If I could show you how fucking weird I was when I was a kid, dude. Oh my God. Everyone, genuinely, a lot of people didn't like me. And, I think I was so interesting and off putting and unique in a bad way that everyone genuinely didn't like me. And I think that made me realize I needed to tone it down. But I don't know where that guy has gone because I've gotten, like, this is so interesting because it applies directly to my life. I've gotten to the point where I've acted for so long that I don't know who I'd be if I hadn't acted now. Because part of who I am now is that acting too. And so I can't like take back the acting that I've done, but how do I become more authentically myself moving forward from where I'm at now? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've done a lot of acting to pretend to be someone more likable. Because when you're unique in a bad way, I think it's really easy to want to be perfect, like you said, to be more attractive. And like I actually talked to one of my friends, this girl that I dated, we're friends now, but she was like, everything you say is like the right thing, but it almost doesn't even feel authentic because you're just saying it so right. Like she's like, you know all the right things to say to make me feel the way that you want to make me feel, but I just don't know if it's actually you. Mm-hmm. And that was like the first time that anyone's ever said that to me, and that's why like I'm friends with her. But yeah, that was like the most wild shit ever. She actually like talked to me about that, and I was like, I fucking do that? I didn't even know that I did it. It was just me getting reinforcement from people that were around me. Like it wasn't intentional that I became this way. It was like I want to innately feel cared about and appreciated by others. And so it's like, how do I act in a way? And it's just trial and error over time. It's not intentional. It's not like I want to change myself to be this way.
Naturally,
it's just
learning.
Reinforcement.
Yeah.
It's just reinforcement over time. And I became like a little bit of, a little fuckboy. But the thing is, I don't want to be that guy. And now I have to unlearn the things that I've learned naturally in order to be a more authentic, genuine person instead of catering to external pressures. Isn't that crazy?
It's awesome that you're here, though.
That I am where I am?
Yeah.
That I've like noticed that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's a realization.
It's came from therapy and self-reflection and journaling, man.
That's awesome.
I don't want to get too far off track, though. Are we still on track?
Sure. I am the track.
You are the...
It's crazy how journaling and self-reflection and stuff, like it just goes back to you have all the answers. Like you have the answers that you need, or you have access to the answers you need. Even if it's not the big, far-reaching answer, you have the next step. You know, like you have ways to listen to your intuition for what the next step is. Because if you have a hole in yourself, let's say it's a circle-shaped hole, and you see all these people around you looking for square blocks, like you can either do what they're doing because that's supposed to make you feel better. That's what other people are getting, right? Or you can look at the fact that you have a circle hole and you need a circle block. If you have a hole inside you, that is the instructions for the answer of what you need to do next.
But it's really, really, really easy to let everyone else affect how you act. Like, I think as humans in general, as animals, I would say, it's easy to just trial and error and accidentally become something that you don't want to be. And only with intention can you genuinely become a person that you want to be. I don't think you can some people, I think, can accidentally fall into who they want to be. Mm-hmm. I don't think that it happens for most people. I think most people drift through life distracted by a lot of things that happen around them and don't realize how it's negatively or positively affecting the direction of where they're going in life.
I agree. I could say lack of awareness, but what is a lack? Everybody's got varying degrees of it.
I think that kind of comes down to ability to self-reflect. I think that's intelligence, right? That's part of intelligence, where it's like, what's your ability to self-reflect, to realize the things that are happening around you. Like, how present are you in the moment, or are you distracted by everything around you? Because, dude, I think the reason why we've gotten to where we are is there's been no distractions, right?
Yes, 100%.
It's I need food, I need water, I need shelter, I need a mate, right? I need companionship, whatever. And so those have been the primary drivers of life. Like, I need to survive. And once I have the things needed to survive, like, I can think and do anything else. That's why things were created, because people were bored and just want to do shit. Like, the most interesting things that people can create and make, it's not usually like, I want to sit down and I want to create something. It's, I'm bored and I have nothing else to do, so might as well spend the time doing something interesting or thinking about something, because there's literally nothing else to do. People come up with such cool shit.
Or doing something I love.
Yeah, be bored more is the recommendation for today. Be bored more.
I'm gonna say, not to disagree with that, but like compliment it in a quantum sort of way, is yes,
Ooh.
both are true. I am pretty much never bored. I can't remember the last time I was fucking bored. It might have been years ago, because I have so many things that I like doing and I don't have time for them all. And I don't even give myself as much sleep as I think I should, because I'm doing so many things for basically zest of life. Like, I want to be doing this podcast right now. Before that, I was on I made myself go cook dinner. But before that, I was working on a song cover, like recording it, doing studio quality production and stuff. Before that, I was watching a live stream about how to land UX jobs, because I want to move my career into that. And these are all things that I am consciously acknowledging I have the freedom to pursue right now, and I'm loving it, and feel super aligned, and I'm never fucking bored.
I think, you know, what's really interesting about that is, to a person that's constantly watching content, I would say that person is bored all the time, but it's bored in a non-bored way.
Me?
So here, actually, let me rephrase the answer. It's not, the recommendation isn't to be bored. It's to be bored without stimulation, because you can be bored and stimulated. And that's what content is. A lot of the times you're just getting hits of dopamine, but you're not actually like enjoying it, right? It's almost like an addiction. I think with social media, that's a huge thing right now, where like people will be scrolling and they'll be like, I'm so bored right now, but they're just constantly getting stimulation. And so I guess in order to be the best creative that you can be, and to be more impactful in your own life, being able to be bored and unstimulated is one of the best ways to create momentum for growth and creativity.
Yeah, it's being bored without stimulation. Just giving yourself time without stimulation is also essentially what meditation is.
Yes.
Listen to your own brain, basically. And, you know, there's also places that you can be, you can be in a bad spot. Your brain can be wired so that you're afraid to be alone with your own thoughts. And there's, you can be in that kind of mental landscape where that's not the immediate recommendation, is to just be alone with your thoughts. So that's something interesting too. I just thought of that. But in general, like, if you are doing well and stable, I think you can learn more on the inside of yourself than outside by magnitudes.
And also something that people should be aware of is that if you've never done this before, and if you've never explored your internal thoughts, it's going to be really fucking scary, and it's going to be really hard to take. I think depending on how intense your past has been will impact the intensity of your internal processes. Yeah. And I think some people have lived decent lives and haven't had too many hardships, and it's less taxing on them. And I think the more trauma that you've had throughout your life, the more intense it's going to be. And it might be not like good for a long time, but eventually it will start to be beneficial.
Mm-hmm. I think we are
So
to those two representations. Is it was not how you're describing it for me. It wasn't this super fucking scary thing. It was like I had a lot of shit that was really hard to work through, but I was not afraid to take note of it. I wasn't afraid to see what it was. It was just very, very difficult to change it.
yeah, behaviors and stuff, especially. Yeah. And I think there are people that have gone through like unspeakable traumas that looking inside is terrifying and stressful and angering, or just unbelievable emotions. And I think that's why meditation sometimes in introspective thought can be really, really tough for people, is for the people that have gone through a lot. But I think if they're able to be introspective and to work through it, they will be one of the strongest people on this earth, like for tolerance and dealing with hardships. I think those people tend to be the strongest. Depends, but
I have a thought experiment for you. Question.
yeah, go ahead.
What do you think the ideal version? No, scratch the word ideal. What do you think you look like if hypothetically, theoretically, all of these things that bother you and that you have dealt with and still have to deal with and whatever is going on now, if all of that was gone, if there was nothing inhibiting, what do you think you would look like?
So what you're asking is, what if I had...
I'm seeing where you take this, because it's hard to define what that means.
All right. So I'm trying to understand your question. Your question is, what would I look like if I had none of the things that are inhibiting me from truly, I guess, like being my real self? Could you ask the question again?
So
actually?
no, you're totally on the right track. So imagine you have innocent kid brain. Like there is
Okay.
So
Yeah.
your inner child is in there.
Yeah.
Imagine all of the storms and things that it's dealing with in the surrounding layers were not there. And you were like any consistent learned pattern that keeps coming back and hitting you again doesn't exist. It's the normal ups and downs that like a 6-year-old child with no trauma has.
I don't think that's possible. First of all, if we're talking about a utopia world where that is possible, I don't think that. Here's my perception of it. I think that, first of all, it's impossible. Second of all, I think through the hardships that I would be a completely different person. I wouldn't be who I am right now. And I think that if you have never had any intense traumas or anything that really affected your life, I think you would genuinely be pretty well, like, I think it's possible in like, I think, all right, let me try this again. I think there are people that have minimal negative impacts in their life and stuff. And I think that those people are generally happier in a lot of ways. And I think some of it can be from obliviousness because they haven't experienced stuff like it. It's not to say that they're not perceptive of what it could be. It's just that the knowledge of it isn't personal to them, so it doesn't affect them as much. And I think that they're generally happier overall because of not having these lived experiences. And I think the people that have had, bad lived experiences, their level of appreciation for the good could be higher. But I think in general, they're not going to be as happy on average in their lifetime compared to someone that hasn't been through heavy trauma. So I think in an ideal world where this child has never gone through anything severely bad and it's just like average life stuff, I don't think that's human, because part of being human is having extreme highs and extreme lows. But I think they would just be almost robotic in a way. They wouldn't, and I think it would naturally become more intense over time. So I think if we put a human on this earth that never had any negative experiences, I think over time it would understand negative experiences, and as they had generations and generations happen, I think the intensity would become higher and higher. So I think humans in general would get to where we are now, regardless of who the originator was.
That's really interesting. So this is, oh shit. So look at the society we have right now, the civilization we have in first world countries, and then go back a few hundred years, go back a few hundred more years, go back to medieval times, keep going back to cavemen. We are pretty caring and stable now, as opposed to the farther back in history you go. Would you agree?
No, I wouldn't agree with that. I think most of human nature is relatively the same. Because okay, what do you have to do? Like let's analyze now versus in the past, right? So in the past, you had to fight for your food. You were starving all the time. You had to figure out what worked and what didn't work, and you would see your friends and family die all the time. Mm-hmm. Like whether it's from disease, wounds, eating poisonous things, or getting attacked by animals. Like there's a million ways to die. We're so lucky to live in the world that we live in right now. And so you would feel all of these emotions. Like the trauma wouldn't be necessarily like done to you, but it would be done to you it wouldn't be done to you necessarily by other people. But yeah, there were like wars amongst people as well, and they would probably eat each other and shit and kill each other. But I think it was more man versus nature. I'd imagine that people would come together to try to survive, because survival was more important than like fighting over land as much, I think.
Interesting.
See, I don't even know if that's true.
So you said
I think there's a lot more natural dangers than there are now.
It was
and
definitely
I think that
more,
was traumatizing.
More
that
man
was
versus
traumatizing.
nature. I agree with you. More man versus nature the farther back. Yeah. You also said they probably eat each other and shit, and that doesn't happen much in our first world.
I mean, the thing is, if you're starving and you have no other food source, like why wouldn't you, right? I could imagine people doing that.
So it's more so conquering nature has changed, and you're saying man versus man has not changed.
I think man versus man has not changed. I think man versus nature has changed immensely.
Yeah, I think we can all agree on the man versus nature.
Yeah, I mean, we've conquered nature for sure. Like, not necessarily. Like, we can't conquer death, but we've longevity.
Go
right?
to the store and get headache medicine. Yeah.
Yeah, we've conquered a ton of things that happen in the natural body, and a lot of the issues that we're causing within ourselves right now is probably because of what we eat, our government, and pharmaceuticals, and large corporations, which are intentionally, like, we should be the healthiest we've ever been, but I'm pretty sure that there's some conspiracy shit happening where it's like they don't want us to be as healthy as we could possibly be right now as a world. And I think keeping us unhealthy for rich people, or large corporations, or people that have the most power in the world, holding onto that power is really I'd imagine it'd be easy if most of the world is sick, not you. Mm-hmm. Logically, that makes sense in my head. Yeah.
Of course, So it's still. If you want to look at it like there's these super powerful predators that are also human, they just have all this power, assuming the conspiracies are true, which totally makes sense if you follow money and power. But also, look at the majority, not those few super powerful people, but the majority that are down here to live life like a good life. And they're the ones that generally invent medicine and solve all these problems. So I think as a general human race, there is an innate drive to make things better and get along with each other.
I think overall, that's the idea. I think most people want to make a positive impact. And I agree with you on that. I think that with power comes wanting to hold on to that power, though. And I think that can cause corruption. I think money is a very neutral thing. I don't think money in itself is a pro or a con or like evil or good. I think money amplifies the type of people that we are. And I think power specifically, and maybe power in itself is also an amplification of who we are as well. But I think what ends up becoming evil is wanting to hold on to that power and not allowing anyone else to have it. I think that's what ends up becoming evil. I think you can be a powerful leader, and I think you can be powerful in general, but I think when you're not willing to help others with the power that you have, I think that's when evil starts to culminate, maybe.
I watched yeah, I can agree with that. I'll give that some thought. But I think you're right. I watched a very interesting video once that was about this person's supposed, like, you could call it a dream, or you could call it what they call it, which is they actually swapped consciousness with someone in the future, like 2244 or the year 3000 or some shit, like far off. And it was very vivid and like drawn out in this super, like, it made really a lot of sense to me that there's a point in the future where we essentially, the human brain starts to evolve. Like, you know how we have is it the prefrontal cortex that puts us above the other, like Neanderthals and stuff? There's a specific part of the brain that other human species never had.
I think so. I think that's where a lot of processing happens.
Yeah. So essentially there's a point where it's the next level, the next evolution happens. And in this person's story, a few humans they're getting super enlightened, and a couple of them end up dying on the precipice. And then eventually one of them doesn't. And they are the start of this thing that before that evolution in the brain happens, humanity keeps bombing each other and fighting over things and resources. And you're still in survival mode all over the earth, basically what you're talking about. And there's this brain evolution that changes, and they slowly get to the point where there's a more unified, I don't know how to describe it other than this different drive system where we do have and allow ourselves to have free, unlimited energy all over the planet. And there is whatever kind of government system where it's like resources and nature is still conquered. Everybody's accounted for. We're also able to build things that work with nature and don't kill it and aren't bad for the planet. And it's all because of that brain change. And I think that's really a fucking cool idea, because we are totally in survival mode. And the reason it's so scary to give up power when you have it is because it's the survival instincts. It's like, I have this. I don't want to put myself in a worse position where I'm in more danger, right?
I think, yeah, I agree with you. And I think, I don't know if I ever see humans not killing each other and bombing each other and stuff. I don't think like maybe thousands of years in the future when we've like evolved in some other way, maybe. But as we are as current humans now, I can't see that happening in the next couple hundred years. Mm-hmm. At least not the next. I don't know what the next 1,000 years are going to be like, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. But I mean, the thing is, this has been made into movies and books. It's the, what is it? Emotional it's like the nullification of emotions is the only thing that can stop humans from killing each other. Because if you don't have emotions involved, then there's no reason for people to, you know what I mean? Unless there's logical reasons for people to want to kill each other. But I think most killings and most negative things come from emotion.
Yeah, but what if there's guardrails? We feel emotions every day and we don't want to kill each other. You and me.
Right. So I'm guessing but that's like why those cyberpunk worlds and those alternate reality in movies and TV shows and books are like that, is because people understand that emotion is, sure, there's guardrails, but everyone's capacity for not doing something is different. And the thing is, like, someone that could be a good person could be put in a situation where their situation is so extraneous that it puts them in a situation where they can no longer be quote unquote good anymore, because they have to, like, they've been backed into a wall. You know what I mean? And they have to do something in order to survive. Yeah. And that could turn, like, I mean, if someone offered you $1 billion and safety for your family for the rest of your life, like, would you kill someone? Right? I mean, I'm not saying answer that, but I'm just saying, like, for your entire lineage for the rest of existence.
Yeah.
And you also get $1 billion today. If you were to off someone, like, I feel like there would be plenty of people that would do it.
Yeah.
If they were like, no one else has to know. You're the only one that's going to know. I'm going to put you in a room with one other person and give you one bullet to kill them. And they can't move. They're strapped to a chair. They can't move their head, right?
Yeah.
If you pull the trigger, they die for sure. And you get all this great stuff. I'm sure.
A lot of people would.
Way higher. Tons. A lot of people would, especially if people don't know that you did it. Like, if there's outside pressure, like, peers will know that you've done it and they'll perceive you differently. That, I think that would reduce it a little bit. But I think if you could say, hey, my lineage will be safe and healthy forever, for eternity, as well as, like, we would get $1 million now. Like, I mean, I think a lot of parents would do that for their kids.
Yeah.
Even. So I don't know, man. That's a tough question.
Yeah. I do not think, like, we could ever see Utopia in our lifetime or in the next couple 100 years. I'm with you there. But, like, as far as the 1,000+ years, or make it 100,000 years, I don't fucking know. We're already different than the other human species that have come before.
Are we, though? I feel like we haven't really changed that much, like, fundamentally.
I think we've changed fundamentally a lot, but it doesn't mean we don't kill each other, right?
Like, how though? I'm curious. Like, what do you mean by fundamentally? Like, what has actually changed?
I don't think Neanderthals would be having this conversation.
I think even with their primitive language, like, they would have talked about what they needed to survive, and maybe it wasn't the exact type of communication that we have now, but it was enough for them to get by. And, like, I'm sure that there was multiple different like, communities of people that they had to protect themselves from. And I think there was plenty enough of communication to be like, oh, okay, we don't want to go to, there's diplomacy for sure.
Yeah.
So I don't see, like,
but we've changed fundamentally, because I'm talking about this conversation that's so, like, we're talking about, like, we just spent another hour talking about therapy. Therapy, like you said, on some recent day, therapy is pretty new. We're doing
super new. Yeah, it's like so the past 100 years.
Our concept of, like, mental health is now a phrase that people know in the last few decades.
I don't know if that's foundational, though. I feel like foundational would just mean eat, sleep, survive, right? It's shelter, survive.
Okay.
That's the same foundation as it's always been.
Fundamental, foundational. You're talking about basic needs?
Basic needs, yeah. Maslow's hierarchy, right? Like, the bottom rung, like, that's still the same. That's never going to change. We're talking about higher tiers of needs.
Do you think there's a hypothetical way that if we solve the problems, people stop killing each other?
No.
Not,
what problems specifically are you talking about?
Why do people kill each other right now?
Passion, control, power. I think those are the main ones, probably.
I would argue
I feel like it's less survival now, but
I argue that, yeah, it's less survival. The people who are in super powerful positions want everything to remain the same as it is. Predictable, controllable, which is not passionate and is not like murder spree. It's like you want the population to work for you, right?
Nah, I mean, you want them to be as brain dead as possible. You want them to be machines as much as possible.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm also talking about like crime of passion. That's usually, I mean, inner cities. Like we have to talk about that too. Like inner cities, there's crimes of survival there.
Oh yeah.
And crimes of passion, like people feel like they're trapped in a relationship. They can't get out. They feel like they can't get out, even though, you know, there's legal things that you can do to get out of it. People like you hear people killing each other about that, you know, that's passion.
So
sure. I'd say like with the most people that die, I would say probably war, right?
So I let's
no, it's
say
heart
maybe
disease, bro.
Robotic, like us becoming robotic, is the alternative to killing, right?
What do you mean?
Let's say everybody, one way or another, if the entire population is drugged to be docile, or if people in like a 1984 level of monitoring and nobody could commit crimes, like roboticism is the alternative to killing and crime, right?
That would give you the ultimate control, yeah.
So that would be the only realistic way in our lifetime to stop murder, is to remove, what would you say that's removing? Just put everything on such a high level of control.
Human. That's removing our
anything
ability
wild,
to be human.
Anything unpredictable.
Yeah, I would say that's what it is to be human. Is to be unpredictable in some ways. I think it's like removing our soul almost. I guess like one final thing I wanted to ask is like, what do you think would it take to get to that point of like this ideal utopia of the brain evolving to this point? Like what do you think would be necessary to happen? Like if we're not talking about creating, because in this utopia, it's not about controlling everyone to be docile, right?
Oh, or so the utopia I was talking about.
Yeah.
What do I think it would take to get there? We have to solve the problems of our basic needs. And we have to all be somehow simultaneously on the same page enough in a self-awareness and yeah, my shortest answer would be that it would take like an evolutionary level change where we change fundamentally.
You know what also could work really well? So the possibility that you're talking about is really high for smaller populations. Like asking a whole world to believe in the same thing and to do the same thing is very, very, very hard.
Yeah.
And probably impossible. But if you have countries or cities or countries with smaller populations. So if you like, dude, the US is so fucking big. There's so many people here.
Yeah.
And like each state should be its own country, honestly, because like that's how it is basically the rest of the world. But we're trying to run the entire, almost all of North America basically, which is the United States, right? We're trying to run that like a country, which is fucking wild. Same with Canada. Like any country that has like provinces or states is kind of wild to me.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's a lot.
And the utopia that you're talking about is all the people think and feel the same way about things, right?
Yeah.
And they choose to live together in a way that helps everyone or creates a community that's good. And what you're talking about is a commune, basically. And so smaller populations, this is possible, but larger populations, it's not, because there's too much variety in thought.
Yeah.
And so I think if this utopia were to happen, I think it would be more small communities and people go where they align, right? But at the same time, I think there could be more wars amongst these different communities because they're so isolated in thought as well. And diversity in thought is really important for the growth of humankind as well. So
yeah,
it's a utopia.
I was just going to reference basically Germany was essentially the size of one of our states and decided, you know what? The thing we believe in is we fucking want everything.
Yeah. Or there's like one specific type of person that like we value and like this other type of people that we don't like.
And then they take it upon themselves to go outside of their country.
Yeah, but I mean, I believe that what they thought they were doing, some of them believed it was good.
Yeah, you don't get that
You're
far
not gonna,
if you don't have a lot of people behind you.
Yeah, and I think it's not... I think a lot of it is because people believed in that ideology. So